You know, during the summer months, it's been a staple for years and years, and it still catches a lot of fish. We've just kind of done a little bit of modification, but we have a largemouth caught on what we call a magnum shaky head. This one's by Five Fish Lures, and then, as you can see, the old standard, the Zoom Old Monster. It's been catching bass for years and years, and it's one of the things that I think, you know, I don't know if they like it when it falls. It's got some tail action to it, but it's a lot more subtle than the jig. So this profile is long and slender with just a little bit of action, where the jig is bulky. It's got a lot more water movement with the twin tails. This one has very little, and a lot of times we'll even just use a Zoom Magnum trick worm. Same color combinations, but it doesn't have any action whatsoever. What we have here, it's a little different than just Texas rigging, which Texas rigs will work great, especially if you're just concentrating on brush piles. But a lot of the lakes I fish have a lot of rocks, so I'm going to use more of this stand-up Magnum shaky head by Five Fish Lures. What it does is still got a fairly pointed head, but it's got a flat base that keeps that standing upright when it's bouncing up and down along the rocks. But when it gets to the brush pile, it's still got enough taper to come in and out almost like a Texas rig. As you can see, it's got a screw lock with a nice 6/0 mustad hook, and I really like for the say the half, 5/8 or 3/4 ounce Magnum shaky heads, I like that big hook. For the most part, I'm always going to be using a Zoom Old Monster or a Mag Trick Worm. I want something a little bulky because that water temperature is warm, and then I'll just kind of skin hook it there. Still keeps it weedless, but it doesn't take much to get you know, that hook through into the fish's mouth through the plastic, because what you're going to be doing, making long casts, you know, basically fishing brush piles or even just rocky points. And you know, a lot of people throw a jig, and it's kind of one of those things that you can come back with something of this nature. You know, you can use a stick style like the Magnum Trick Worm or the Magnum Finesse Worm. The Old Monster's got just a little bit of tail action, which is kind of my standard go-to. If they're real finicky, then I lean more just to the straight tail. But you know, just focus on what you're doing with that. You know, you got live scope, you can kind of see where the rise is or the high spot, and all we're doing is just bouncing that along the bottom, dragging it in around some scattered brush with some bigger rocks, not just a little flat rocks. So you can feel that, and that's what you want to pay attention to, because you know, it's smooth for a little bit. Nope, now see, we're getting into the bigger rock. You can kind of feel it starts weighing down your rod. You got to hop it just a little more. As you can see, this is kind of one of those typical summer spots. Over to our right is where we're casting. So this channel got a lot more silt to it, and then as you pan to the right with live scope, you start seeing that harder bottom, and then you actually feel those rocks as you bring it by. So see, it's not a huge rise, about 5 or 6 feet, but you can definitely see the difference in the actual color of the bottom. That means that's a harder bottom because you're getting a better return on your signal. And that's what we're kind of looking for. Scattered brush in there along with that different change in rock is key for those summertime bass. The fish are just really inactive. You want to switch to a worm or a worm with a straight tail, and you'll get more bites on the structure spots, especially late summer, early fall. Works exceptionally well if you like to night fish in the summertime, and I like anywhere from a 7.4 to a 7-foot medium heavy St. Croix Legend Elite. And the reason why we use this is mainly, as you can see, there's a little bit of clay on there that stands up as it drags across the bottom much better than just your standard Texas rig. So when I'm fishing offshore, unless it's a really steep or deep gnarly brush pile, I'm going to use this Five Fish Lures Magnum shaky head.